Rockford Education Association and district leaders returned to the bargaining table Thursday night to discuss what local educators are calling for, a fair contract. WIFR's Miriam Niesmeyer talks with union leaders about what issues need to be resolved at the table.
These cheers outside the Rockford Education Association office come as dozens of local teachers rally during their most recent round of contract negotiations with RPS 205 Thursday evening. REA President Claudia Marshall says the union and the district made minimal progress toward a deal at Thursday's bargaining session.
There's still some very serious conversations on the table, and in the REA's opinion, some serious movement that the district needs to still do.
Educators say some unresolved issues at the table include retroactive pay, subpar wages, working conditions, and retirement benefits.
You think about all of the positions and professions in the world and who gets those people ready. Starts with the early childhood teacher, starts with the kindergarten teacher, and it goes all the way up to the 12th grade math and English teacher and all the teachers in between.
The next bargaining session is set for Thursday, February 5th. Marshall says she hopes the district will come to the table ready to give teachers the contract area educators say they deserve.
So we want what's best for students by honoring staff that serve them with a decent, fair contract.
RPS Superintendent Aaron Jarrett tells WIFR in an earlier interview the district's first priority is to come up with a deal to avoid a strike.
We're disappointed we haven't come to a resolution yet, but that doesn't mean we won't. We are going to get there together at the bargaining table, and if for whatever reason that ultimately means a strike is needed for us to get to that point, but if the REA takes that action unilaterally, then we are going to be prepared to make sure that students have safe places to be.
In Rockford, Miriam Niesmeyer, WIFR News.
The bargaining session follows Saturday's vote where 98% of REA members chose to authorize a strike. The REA and its members can't immediately go on strike. They legally have to give a 10-day notice, but could strike as early as February 21st.